also joined by Patricia Wilson, who was born in Liverpool, has lived on Crete and is now settled on Rhodes. She was first inspired to write when she unearthed a rusted machine gun in her garden, one used in the events that unfolded during World War II on the island of Crete. The now elderly woman involved told Patricia her story, and her debut Island of Secrets was the result. Her latest novel, Greek Island Escape, is about a woman who is searching for her daughter.
You may be in isolation, but you don't need to be kept in the dark. Get the latest updates from BBC News, Channel 4 and ITV.
Book Programme. Presented by Hannah Murray.
This is
TRE. The TRE Book Show is sponsored by Audible. Click on the Audible banner on the talkradioeurope.com homepage to download your free audiobook today. Terms and conditions apply.
The Book Programme. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Joining us on the line now from Greece is Patricia Wilson, who was born in Liverpool, has lived on Crete and is now settled on Rhodes. She was first inspired to write when she unearthed a rusted machine gun in her garden, one used in the events that unfolded during World War II on the island of Crete. The now elderly woman involved in those events told Patricia their story, and her celebrated debut Island of Secrets was the result. She's with us on the book show to talk about her latest novel called Greek Island Escape. Welcome to the book show, Patricia.
Thank you, and hello, Hannah Murray. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's lovely to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. So tell me, how long have you lived in Greece for?
Well, over 25 years now.
Oh, how lovely. And what took you out there?
Well, I was in my late 30s, and a workaholic. I've always been a workaholic. And a program came on the TV in Britain called A Place in the Sun. And a tragic event happened and made me think about why I'm working so hard. So I made a plan to retire when I was 45. Now, that was old then. Believe me, I thought that was old. But, so when I was 45, I sold up and retired to Crete.
Oh, lovely. And had you been writing before then, or did you started writing when you were there?
No, absolutely not. I'm absolutely terribly dyslexic. So I got a computer when I retired. I bought a computer, and this magical thing, to be able to put your thoughts down on paper. I'd never been able to do it before.
Oh,
and
how
it's
wonderful.
Such a wonderful thing. I mean, it's what separates us from animals, that we can actually record our thoughts is incredible. So I started writing short stories and poems and entering competitions and finding editors who would help me, who were sympathetic. And so I started writing. And then later on, of course, I discovered the machine gun, and when the women told me their stories that hadn't been told before to anybody, not even the families, they didn't know what these women had gone through. And it was what kept me awake at night.
I'm not surprised for discovering a machine gun in your garden. Just tell us a bit more about that. What happened?
Yes, it was amazing. I had bought an old cottage and refurbished it and moved into it and started on the garden. And I bought a couple of trays of strawberries to plant, and I was digging, and my spade hit metal, and it was, I pulled it out, and I couldn't believe what I had in my hands. And I took it down to the Cafe Neon. That's the living room of the village. In an old Greek village, they have this Cafe Neon thing, and it's where all the men go when the women want them out of the way.
I love that. What a great expression, the living room of the village.
It is, yes. I mean, the men collect the pension there, and they pay their electric bills there, and it's a community centre, really. So I took it down there, and one of the old men started talking to me. I speak some Greek, but he was speaking in the local dialect, and it's rather like trying to understand broad Scots. It's very difficult if it's not your first language. And so other people came down, and it was siesta time. Other old people came down, and they all started talking to me at once. And then they brought me an old man, and it's so emotional, it still cuts me up to tell this, but they brought an old man, and he started talking to me, and he started crying. Well, it was so sad. And I discovered, if you read Island of Secrets, he was the doctor. He was the man who was left behind, to tell the story of what happened. Well, they all wanted to tell me their story, and I started writing it all down. And about 3 months later, a very old woman came knocking on my door. She must have been late 80s, early 90s. There are no records of when people were born from that time, so I have to guess. But I got a translator, and she started telling me what happened to her. And I had a little recorder, so I pressed the recorder, and I recorded the thing she told me and took it to my Greek lesson so the Greek teacher could translate it for me. And I didn't get anywhere because the Greek teacher was in tears the whole time. So I had to give her the tape, and she wrote it down for me in English, and so that was how the story started. I decided then I had to write about women. I'm not, I'm not a staunch feminist, but it was such a story. And not many stories about women are told from the war, about the actual tragic events. So I decided there and then that if I managed to write more than one book, then it would be about women and their struggle, and weak women that become stronger and conquer difficulties, which we do, don't we? I mean,
definitely. And Island of Secrets, that book did very well, sold over 150,000 copies.
Yes, and in 5 languages as well. Very pleased with that.
Wonderful. So your latest book, Greek Island Escape, is set in Crete. Is that right? Or partly set in Crete?
Crete and Athens, yes. And that was another coincidence that started that book. When I came here, I've lived here 25 years, as I said, and sometimes I love Greek food, but sometimes I just have this hankering for Sunday roast. Sprouts, roast potatoes, Yorkshires, the whole kit. And there's one small Greek tavern here that did a Sunday roast on a Sunday afternoon. So I went down there, and I told the guy I was writing a book because they want to know everything about you. It's lovely. That's a lovely friendship thing. And I told him, and he said, I've got a story for you. And he told me this story about someone in his family. But first, I had to put my hand on my heart and swear I wouldn't say who it was because it's a famous person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's somebody you know.
Ooh.
And so, a famous singer.
Okay.
So I swore, and so he told me this story. And I was blown away. I was blown away. And so I went to Athens, and I walked the walk, as you do. I love to do that, go everywhere that was in my story and take photographs. And then I researched. I love the research very, very much, the history, to make history so boring, isn't it? Let's be honest. But to put it into a story and make it an entertainment, I think it does a job in that it gets the facts into people of what really happened at certain eras in our past or even in our early present lives. And so I did the research, and I was absolutely staggered, and it led on to me looking into homeless people in Britain. And so it went on about a mother searching for her child.
And
that's all I'm going to tell you about that.
Okay, fair enough.
Very moving, tearjerker with some laughs in there.
And there's 2 different stories, isn't there? There's a story that takes place in London and one in Crete.
Yes. The one about the singer in Athens who comes to Crete, and the one about the London magistrate whose daughter has run away.
And presumably the two stories intertwine at some point.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm. Yes, they do, very much so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I love Greece, so any book set in Greece, I'm right there. Spent quite a few years in Naxos particularly.
Oh, did you? I've been there, yes. Yes, it's beautiful.
A perfect setting for beautiful books and stories, isn't it?
Yes, and not as commercial as some of the other islands like Mykonos and Santorini, so that's very nice. I like that.
Yeah. Well, if people want to get a copy of Greek Island Escape, it's available to buy on our website in the bookshop section on tre.radio. It's by Patricia Wilson, who we've been chatting to today. Patricia, thank you so much for joining us.
I thank you, Hannah. It's been a pleasure.
You're listening to Talk Radio Europe.
The TRE Book Show is sponsored by Audible. Click on the Audible banner on the talkradioeurope.com homepage to download your free audiobook today. Terms and conditions apply.
The Book Programme.